Most of us go through life without realizing how much of our behavior is shaped by psychological mechanisms we're not consciously aware of. But when we begin to understand even a few basic facts about human psychology, things start to make more sense. Not only that, but life becomes a bit easier, decisions become clearer, relationships improve, and we start managing our thoughts and emotions better. In this video, we'll explore 12 psychological facts that may surprise you, but once you understand them, they'll help simplify many areas of your life. The first fact is that your brain can't distinguish well between real experiences and imagined ones. This is why visualization is so powerful. Athletes have used this technique for decades to improve performance, and studies show that imagining yourself doing something can activate similar brain areas as actually doing it. For example, if you visualize speaking confidently in public before a presentation, your brain starts to become more familiar with the situation, which can reduce anxiety and improve performance. This fact is useful in everyday situations where confidence or calmness is needed. If you imagine yourself handling something well, your brain begins to train itself for that behavior. The second fact is people tend to remember emotionally charged experiences more vividly than neutral ones. This is known as the emotional memory effect. If you think about your childhood, chances are that your most vivid memories are linked to strong emotions, whether positive or negative. The implication of this is that if you want people to remember something, whether it's a lesson, a message, or a conversation, it helps to involve emotions in a balanced and respectful way. Also, being aware of this helps us understand why we hold on to certain negative memories. The brain is wired to prioritize emotional events because they often have survival relevance. The third fact is related to decision-making. Humans are not always rational when making choices. In fact, our decisions are heavily influenced by cognitive biases, like the anchoring effect. This means that the first piece of information we receive about something sets a reference point for how we evaluate it later. For example, if you're shopping for a jacket and the first one you see is $200, the next one you see for $120 might seem like a good deal, even if $120 is still quite high. Understanding this can make you more aware of how you're being influenced, especially in consumer situations. It also helps in negotiations, pricing, and general evaluations in life. The fourth fact is that the brain tends to seek patterns, even where there are none. This is called pattern recognition, and while it's useful for learning and adapting quickly, it also leads to superstitions or false beliefs. For instance, if someone wears a particular shirt to an exam and scores well, they may begin to associate that shirt with good luck, even though it had nothing to do with the result. Being aware of this tendency helps us question our assumptions and recognize when we're forming conclusions that aren't based on real evidence. The fifth important psychological fact is that multitasking is a myth for most people. The brain doesn't actually do two things at once. It switches rapidly between tasks. This switching reduces efficiency and increases the chance of errors. You might think you're being productive by replying to messages while watching a lecture. But what's really happening is that your attention is being divided, and you're not fully absorbing either activity. Studies have shown that productivity and accuracy both decline when people try to multitask. To make life easier, do one thing at a time and give it your full attention. You'll do it faster and better. The sixth fact is that people tend to mirror the emotions of those around them. This is called emotional contagion. If you're in a room where most people are anxious, you'll likely start feeling anxious too, even if you're not sure why. Similarly, being around calm or positive people can help regulate your own emotions. This is important not just for understanding your own moods, but also for managing relationships. If you remain calm in a stressful situation, you can actually influence the emotional state of others. That's powerful, especially in work or family environments. The seventh psychological fact is that self-control is like a muscle. It can get tired. If you've had a long day of making decisions, resisting temptations, or controlling your behavior, your ability to exert self-control on future tasks becomes weaker, at least temporarily. This is known as ego depletion. For instance, if you've spent all day trying to eat healthily and make good choices, you're more likely to give in to junk food late at night. The solution is not to rely on willpower alone, but to build habits that reduce the number of decisions you have to make. Prepare your meals in advance, keep distractions away, and automate what you can. The eighth fact is that people respond better to specific praise than to general praise. Telling someone you're smart feels good, but saying you explained that concept very clearly and made it easy to understand is more effective. It helps the person know what they did well and encourages repetition of that behavior. This applies in parenting, teaching, leadership, and even friendships. Clear, behavior-based feedback leads to better learning and stronger relationships. It's a small change that makes communication more meaningful. The ninth is that humans are more motivated by progress than by rewards. This is known as the progress principle. People feel more engaged and satisfied when they can see themselves making progress, even if it's slow. This is why breaking a large goal into smaller steps is so effective. When we feel stuck or overwhelmed, it's often because we can't see any progress. By measuring and recognizing even tiny wins, we reinforce motivation and build momentum. This applies in health goals, learning, work, and relationships. The 10th fact is that we often judge ourselves by our intentions, but judge others by their actions. If you arrive late to a meeting, you know you didn't mean to. You got stuck in traffic, you had a rough morning. But if someone else is late, we often assume they're careless or disrespectful. This is called the fundamental attribution error. Recognizing this helps us build more empathy. When someone behaves in a way we find frustrating, we can pause and consider what factors might be influencing their behavior. Maybe they're overwhelmed, distracted, or facing personal issues. It doesn't excuse all behavior, but it creates a more balanced and human understanding of others. The 11th surprising fact is that when people feel listened to, they become less defensive, even if they disagree with you. Active listening is more than just hearing someone's words. It involves giving them space to speak, nodding or acknowledging their thoughts, and summarizing their key points. This reduces emotional tension and opens the door to more rational dialogue. It's especially helpful in disagreements. Most people don't need you to agree with them. They just need to feel understood. By listening well, you make others more open to hearing your point of view in return. The 12th fact is that small acts of control can reduce stress in uncertain situations. When people feel powerless, anxiety increases. But if they can take even a small step, like organizing their desk, planning a meal, or choosing what to wear, it can restore a sense of order. This is why people clean their house during emotional distress. It's not about tidiness, it's about creating psychological stability. Giving yourself manageable choices in uncertain times can help you regain focus and emotional balance. Understanding these psychological facts doesn't require a degree or complex theories. They are simple, everyday insights based on how the mind works. When we become aware of them, we start seeing situations more clearly. We become less reactive and more intentional. We make better decisions, improve how we communicate, and learn how to work with our minds instead of against them. Life doesn't come with an instruction manual, but psychology offers some of the closest tools we have to navigate it. These 12 facts are not just interesting, they are practical. They explain why we do what we do, why others behave the way they do, and how we can adjust our approach to make things easier, smoother, and more effective. Each of these truths invites a small shift in thinking, but together they create a significant shift in how we live. The key is not just to learn them, but to apply them consistently. Think about where in your life these facts already show up and where they could help, whether it's in your work, your relationships, or your own internal habits. Each fact opens up a doorway to better choices, and better choices lead to a better life.